Salut la famille! Welcome on this video where I will take you through my Photoshop editing process to go from this to this. Let's go! Okay guys, before we go on Photoshop, I want to take you first to Capture One so I can show you the raw file and what adjustment I did before we take it to Photoshop. So we are here on Capture One and you can see here the raw file. So I will show you the before. So that's how the picture was straight out of camera. And obviously this is the adjustment that I did before taking it to Photoshop. As you can see, a lot of the heavy lifting is already done. The picture already looks good. So to explain to you what I did to this picture is, while I was taking this picture, I imagined in my mind a certain film vibe to the pictures. Why is that? Because if you see my pictures on my Instagram or my website, you will notice that I'm not really into the film look. I don't do that a lot. But for this picture particularly, I imagined that because it's a fitness picture and I didn't want a very clean picture. I didn't want a very smooth skin, everything to be sharp and clean. I wanted a certain roughness to the picture. So that's why I imagined this film look for it. So how did I achieve it? Normally people achieve the film look by certain presets that are available on internet. So there is VSCO, there is RNE, there is a lot of them. For me, what I prefer to do is to use the film profiles. So the film profile is a little bit different from a preset. The presets that you are familiar with on Lightroom or the styles as they are called on Capture One, what they generally do is that they apply a certain adjustment to the contrast, brightness, saturation, colors, and all that to achieve the look. But the camera profile is a little bit different. So the raw file that your camera takes is just a compilation of data. All the brightness, the colors, everything that the camera saw. But in itself, it needs a decoder to transfer this file and make it a visible picture. There is a reason why you see, for example, videos of certain reviewers or people that receive new cameras. They tell you that they cannot show you the pictures because Lightroom or Capture One doesn't have yet the camera profile. Because Lightroom or Capture One doesn't know how to convert the raw file into a visual picture. So the profile is somehow a decoder of a raw file. So it applies, for example, it says that, okay, this pixel is red, that's how the red should look like. This pixel is green, that's how the green should look like. This is brightness, that's how it should look like. So it decodes the raw file into a visual picture that you see. There is multiple ways how a raw file can be decoded. That's why there is a big difference if you are on Lightroom or Capture One. If you change the profile, you will see that the picture is different, even if both of them are raw files. That's why there is difference between Lightroom and Capture One, because each one uses different profiles to convert the raw file. So those film profiles are applying the adjustment and the look straight from the raw file. So you still have all the ability to adjust the brightness, the highlights and all that, unlike a normal preset that you find that they already did a lot of adjustments, and if you play a little bit with the contrast, sometimes it mess up the whole look. So here I applied a profile of Agfa Optima 200. I'm not a film guy, so I don't know how it looks normally on film, but I trust that it's something quite similar. And then I made a certain adjustment to the picture, to the highlight, to the whites and all that to achieve my look. And of course I did certain color adjustments. So the color adjustments are very important. So I'll explain to you why they are important. When you work with white skinned people or people with pale skin in general, if they have to do certain efforts, especially because this is a picture of a fitness model, and the model had to do certain stretches, has certain poses that that requires certain physical effort. And generally the blood flow is different on different body parts. So you have certain body parts that are quite red, others that are relatively pale or in different colors. So this is certain difficulties that you will have if you do certain type of photography with pale skin or white skin models. So you have certain inconsistencies in the colors. So what I did is using the color editor. I think I will do a video in the future where I will explain how to do the color adjustments in Capture One. So the best thing that the most important thing that I want to show you is the skin tone parts. So here, if I do the before, you can see how the color is. So you can notice that there is a little bit difference of saturation and colors between the hand and the legs. So here what we used is the uniformity. So I applied the hue of a certain part. So I chose this part here and I applied the hue to the whole picture. So this is not complete at 100% because we will do more of that on Photoshop. And yeah, so those are the adjustments that I did to go from this to this. So now let's go on Photoshop. And now I will show you something quite interesting, because if you notice here, I have 3 pictures selected. So let's go on Photoshop and I will show you what I did. So if you can see the picture here, the head of the model is on a different position from what I showed you earlier. And if we go back to Capture One, what I found is that I really liked the head position of this picture here. However, the hand doesn't look really nice here, and it looks like the hand is cut here. You cannot see the hand, where is it? And you have this hand here. It looks almost like it was photoshopped and the model doesn't have a second hand. But the head position was really pleasant here. I really liked it. And this one has very good hand position, but the face is okay. It's not bad, but it's okay. So what I did is that I wanted to combine both of them in one. So I took the picture into Photoshop. So I took the picture in Photoshop and I tried to combine both of them. So I aligned the two pictures, I copied the head, and I did certain adjustment to certain things, and now you can see that we have the picture. It looks quite real. It looks like that's how it was taken straight out of camera. Of course, those pictures are meant for Instagram, so people will not be zooming and pixel peeping, but I think it was worth showing you that because it's not something that I do. It's quite rare that I do certain adjustments like that on Photoshop, but in this particular case, I thought that it will be a big loss to have a okay picture while we can have a great picture. So I combined all that, and we can flatten the picture so I can show you how we do the adjustment. The first thing that we will be doing is to clean the background. So you can see here, it's quite clean, but you see a lot of marks and things like that. I think I did a video about how to clean the background, but I think this one can still be clean. So what I will be doing first, before I do any adjustment or any dodge and burr or anything, I will do that. So I will multiply or duplicate the layer, and I will go to filter, and I will look for, no, not here, and blur gallery, distort, no, pixel, median. So I'll go to noise and I'll go to median. The median is a kind of a blur. So I will apply, I think 30, or I think let's apply 30. So I apply 30 to this picture, and as you can see, everything is blurred. So I will create a mask and I will invert it into black. So the black conceals and the white reveals. So now what I will be doing is that I will click here. So we have already this is the quick selection tool selected. So in the new version of Photoshop, you have the cloud selection. So this does a very good job at selecting the subject. So we selected the subject. Now what we will be doing is that we will expand the selection. So we'll expand it by 50 pixels. So now it gave us a little bit of space, and I will invert the selection. Now all I have to do is click on Ctrl I to make the selection white, so it will reveal all that part here. And now if you scroll down, you will see how clean the background looks. This is a small mark, we can adjust this right now, but you can see how clean it looks. That's how it used to be before, that's how it is now. So from the start, we have now a good background. So you can see a certain edges that are here. Those are not very pleasant. So what we will be doing here is that we will feather a little bit the mask. So you can see now the edges are quite good. The second thing that we will be doing before we flatten all that, so we will make it into one. So we will take the patch tool and we'll correct that small part. So now, I think now the background is clean, everything is clean. Okay, so what we will be doing is that we want to flatten all that, because that's how we can apply certain actions, like the frequency separation. It needs to be on the background. So we will flatten the image. If you watch the previous tutorials that I did, probably you noticed that I like to combine the frequency separation with the micro dodge and burn technique for my skin retouching routine. So we will be doing the same thing for this picture. And the first thing that we'll start with is to apply the all-in-one action that I created myself. But please guys, do not be scared by that. I know that you don't have it and it looks like it's something complicated, but it's quite simple. All it does is just a frequency separation action. There are plenty of them on internet because it takes certain steps, so everybody's using just actions because it takes several steps, and you can easily download them on internet. It's just a frequency separation plus a dodge and burn, which is very easy to make, and the rest is just like color things. We can even delete them and do them manually. Okay, so let's click on the all-in-one action and I will take you through it. So the first thing is the Gaussian blur for our frequency separation. So what you want, the radius that you want to choose for the frequency separation is one that blurs the picture, yet you can see all the features of the person. It should be blurred, but you can see that this is a hand, this is an eye. So here we can see everything. So I think 14 is quite good. So I'll click on OK. And as you can see, it created the skin retouching things for me, the adjustment and color. So not to scare you, because I know that it's intimidating, so I will remove those parts here and we will be making them manually. So like this, you will not be thinking that it's the action that does the work. Okay, even here, we will not need the teeth whitening. We will not do anything to the eye. So let's remove all that. So let's leave only the frequency separation with its check layers. Even the check layers, we will not need them here, so I will delete that. And the dodge and burn, and also the check layers for the dodge and burn, which is important. Okay, so the first thing we will be starting with is the texture. So that's why we created the frequency separation, because we want to do the skin blemishes, to remove them without touching the color. It's the reason why I combine both techniques, is the color part, and the color part I do it in the dodge and burn, and the texture I do it in the texture alone, so like that it will not impact my colors. So let's zoom in and let's start doing the skin blemishing. Normally, if you watch also the other videos, I use the clone stamp tool. So the clone stamp tool, you use it to sample an area in the skin, and then you paint over the area that you want to clean. However, when it's a picture, for example, that will be like that, that's people will not be pixel peeping, and it's not a very close look like a close-up portrait, you can even do the patch tool. And the patch tool is a little bit easier if you use a mouse, or even a good mouse, or a tablet. It's quite easier with the patch tool, because you just have to circle what you want to change, and you find the area that you want to change it with. So this, generally it's not very good when you have a very close-up portrait, but in such case it's not a big deal. So I will be applying the patch tool, the patch tool. I will be using it for the body, and the face I can use, the clone stamp tool. So let's continue with the body. Of course, as I repeat every time, you don't want to remove things that are permanent in the person. If there is a big scar, something permanent in the person, some birthmark, something like that, you don't remove it, unless the person asks you to. But if it's just a scratch or something like that, you remove it. Especially in our case, we are working with a fitness model, a fitness trainer, and generally the fitness people, they put their work through their body through a lot. They work a lot at the gym, so there is a lot of marks, there is a lot of scratches. Generally, there is a lot of sweating that happens, so the skin is not 100% clear. So for fitness models, generally there is a lot of work to be done. But at the same time, it's a fitness model. You don't want to make everything look smooth. That's why we apply this film look from the beginning. But yet, if there is something like a scratch or something like that, you can remove it. So what I will be doing is that I will, not to bore you to death, I will speed forward this part, and I can catch you at the end. Okay guys, welcome back. So we did all the skin blemishes. So you can see the face, you can see the hands. So there is a lot of cleaning that happened. So you can see, so you can see here the before and after. So we did a lot of skin blemishes cleaning. And now we can go to the dodge and burn. But before we go on the dodge and burn, I want to show you a certain thing that I do. As I mentioned earlier, when you work with pale skin models or white skin models, and they are doing a certain effort with their body, the blood flow is different in different body parts. So for example, here she is doing a certain effort with her legs, which means that there is more blood going on the legs than on the upper part. So you can see that the area here looks, the legs are a little bit reddish, and the hands are a little bit yellowish. So there is a certain inconsistency when it comes to the color. So how do I want to fix that? So I will go in the frequency separation, and between the texture and the color, I want to introduce a solid color. I will explain why I want to do it there exactly. So I will click on OK, and then I will explain. We can do the changes that I want. So here we have the texture, and here we have the color, and both of them give us a picture. So if we, for example, here it will be blurred. Here it will be without color. It's just the texture. So I wanted to introduce the color between the first colors of the picture, and then I want to do the corrections or the adjustment after the original colors and before the texture comes in place. So that's why I place it between the texture and the colors. So the second thing so as you can see here, it doesn't look good because it's just a color applied on texture. So what we want to do first is to choose which color I want to introduce. Personally, I know it's not a very natural look, but I really like the pinkish color on skin. It's a personal preference. So I will go for a hue of 19, and it still doesn't look good. So what we want to do is to change the blend mode to hue. So there is different ways how people like to do this change. The majority of people, they choose color. But color is a color in general is a combination of three things: of brightness or luminous, saturation, and the hue. The hue is somehow like the color. You can understand it as being the color. The brightness, you know what is brightness? Is it a dark, for example, it can be a dark red, bright red. So is the brightness. The saturation is how intense is this color. So in this particular case, the brightness of the picture, I don't want to touch it. I will apply certain things to the brightness to correct it, but I don't want to apply it here. The saturation, the same thing. So all the thing that I want to change is to make this area look uniform with this. So only thing I want to introduce is the hue, or unify is the hue. So that's why I change it to hue. Color will also do a great job, but in my case, I prefer to do the hue. And then if there is anything to be done to the brightness, I can do it later on by myself. So here we apply the hue, and what I want to do is to go to the mask, and I will invert the mask. Control I, and it's inverted. So you can see with the white mask, so you can see here it's everything, it added this hue, and here without it. So we don't want to apply this hue to the whole picture, we want to apply it only to the skin. So now I will be taking the quick selection tool, and I will be selecting only the skin. So here we have the skin, and so let's select part by part. So this is number 1, this is number 2, the hand of course is number 3. Yes. Okay, let's refine this selection a little bit more. Yep. So this is number 3. So we have the second hand here. Yeah, the second hand. Let's zoom a little bit. So the second hand also we will apply this hue to it. And of course we have the face, the ears, and we'll apply it. The first thing I will be doing is to take a black brush. So here we can invert to go to a black brush. So the black, because we want to conceal, I will put the flow to 100, and I want to paint black. Of course you should be on the mask, and I will paint black on the lips, because we don't want to apply this hue to the lips, because the lips are in a different hue. It's the same thing for the eyes. Well, this is not very visible, but yeah. So now we can click on Control Alt. It's Option Alt on Mac. I don't know what is it in Windows, but it's Alt and Option, and I click on the mask, and it shows you where the selection was made. So you can see here that we applied all over the skin, and this is the before, this is the after. So you can see the hue changing in the skin. I don't want to apply it as much as it is currently. So what I will do is I will reduce the opacity. So I will reduce it to 60. Probably 60 is good. Yeah, 60 is good. So now that we are ready with that, we're finished with that, we can go to the dodge and burn. The dodge and burn is extremely easy to create. We can even, so all what you do is that let's create one together. So like that you will not say that he doesn't know how to do it. Okay, so we'll create a curve layer. And we will go to the middle point. That's how I like to do it. Certain people like to go here and go to an area that is bright and take it up, which is also a good way of doing it. So let's do it the traditional way. So let's go to a place that is bright and we brighten the picture. And we go to the mask and we click on Ctrl-I to invert it, so like that it's all black and it's concealed. So this, we'll call it a dodge. So now we want to create a burn layer, so dark one. So we will do the same thing. So we will select this thing to sample and we will go to an area of the subject that is supposed to be dark. So for example here, and we will drag until we see a darkness that we deem to be good. So this is, so this is dark. And we do the same thing, Ctrl-I in the mask, and we will call it burn. This one is burn, So now it's quite simple. We go to brush and we invert this so it should be in white because the masks are in black, so they are hiding everything, and we want to reveal the brightness in the areas that, and the darkness in the areas that we choose. The most important is to choose a flow of 1 or 2%. I prefer to do 1. It's better to go gradually and up than starting and then having to remove. So I prefer to go with the flow. Please choose the flow and not the opacity. It acts differently. It might seem that it's the same thing, but it's not. So use a flow instead of the opacity. The opacity can stay at 100 and the flow at 1. And now what we want to do is we start with big dodge and burn. So we call it like, I forgot how they call it. It's called the general dodge and burn. So the general dodge and burn is like a bigger brush. And we want to enhance the areas that are bright. Just big areas that are bright, we brighten them, and areas that are dark, we will darken them later on. So here, this area is supposed to be bright, this is bright, this is supposed to be bright. Well, those are already too bright, but So we go here and we see the areas that are supposed to be bright and we brighten them. So this area here, we can see here that there is certain brightness here, and the dodge and burn is extremely important when it comes to fitness models, because the way how we see muscles is if there is a big definition and the contrast between the darks and the whites or the highlights. So it's very important when you are doing pictures of fitness models to play a lot with the dodge and burn, because that's what will enhance their muscles. And this is normal. Even in the gyms, they generally put the lights in a certain way, so it will enhance the shadows on your abs, on your muscles. So you think that when you go sometimes to the gym, you think that you are more muscular than you are in reality, because they know how to place the light and all that. They do that even for fitness competitions. A light that enhances the shadows is best for fitness models. Or I think you got the point. So now what we will be doing is the more critical part. So we did like the general thing. It was not much, but this is like the general dodge and burn. And now we will start the real work, which is the micro dodge and burn. The micro dodge and burn, we use generally the invert check layer to see exactly where we need to introduce certain highlights and shadows. So the invert check layers, what it does is that everything that you see in black is actually highlights, and everything that you see in white is shadows. So you can see here, we can easily manipulate it to see where the highlights and where the shadows are. And you can see certain areas. For example, here you can see a certain spot here of brightness. There is here big dark mark. There is certain, if you go, for example, here you have, so those are the small things that you want to adjust in the micro dodging burn. So let's go, and I will start with the face, and then we will go down a little by little. So here, let's go to the dodge, and let's here introduce a little bit of brightness, and while you are working on that, all the time you're adjusting this to see clearly the picture. So for example, here when we do it, we can see that this area here is not smooth. Oh, sorry, it should be here. The face is not a big problem, so we can clean it and do the adjustments to it, because it's not something, you don't want to show the muscles in the face, but so it's okay to smoothen things in the face, but for the rest of the body, you need to be a little bit more mindful. So here it should be bright, and I can see here that there is certain spots. Maybe we will be adding a little bit more of that here. Okay, let's do it like this. Yeah. Let's hope that didn't. Okay. Yeah. And let's do the same thing here. Let's enhance it a lot. Anyway, we are brushing with with the 1%, so it shouldn't impact a lot. Okay, great. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, so we brighten this a little bit, you can see here. Okay, the face here, this area here. Welcome back, guys. So you can see here the dodge and burn of before and after of all the bodies. So you can see there is a big difference in the skin, and we smooth out a lot of things. Of course, it's not a beauty shot, so we don't want to clean everything and to have everything smooth. So we want to have certain roughness, so that's the reason why I don't do like the deep cleaning that you can see normally on a normal beauty shot or boudoir shot or anything like that. So it's supposed to have certain roughness, certain things like that to it. So that's what we did. And now I think we finished with the skin retouching. So the first thing that we want to do now is to start the adjustment to the look. So first thing I like to do is to add certain contrast to the picture. So let's do it like that, so the picture will be visible. And I have a contrast for portrait. So no, not this one, empty contrast. So this is just a normal curve with empty with dots without any adjustments. So as you can see, it doesn't do anything. It just to help me, I have 1 point here, 1 point in the middle, and 2 points in the top. So I will be going, generally when we want to do a contrast on a picture with layers, with the curve layer, is that you want to reduce the shadows, enhance somehow, or even keep in the middle the midtones, and push up the highlights to give this contrast between the dark and the bright. So let's do that, and let's go a little bit. 1, 2, yeah, maybe 2. Let's see the midtone just by 1, and the highlight probably will up. So the highlights by 2 dots, 2 points, a little bit like that, and maybe I can add a little bit more of that. So the picture is white, so you can see that the white here, or the bright part, is the predominant because there is a lot of brights in this picture. So let's see the before and after. So you can see there is a certain pop to the picture. It's not 100%, but there is certain pop. Second thing that we want to do is to brighten a little bit the background. I think that the background needs to pop a little bit more. So what I will do is that I will create an empty curve layer, and I will go back to the selection, quick selection, and with the select subject. I will choose the cloud because it's more detailed, and I'll click on select subject. It's generally very, very good at selecting, even the hair, it does really, really good job. So I will click on Ctrl I to invert that. So now our curve layer will only impact the background. Before we start that, I will feather a little bit. So like that, we don't have this, so we have a smooth transition between whatever we are doing. So this is better than 0, like that. Let's go to 100% to see. So you can see how the edges here. So if you do any change here, it will look, sometimes you can see the separation. So we want to feather that a little bit. So yeah, like this. So like that, so the transition will look smoother. So we can go now. We'll take this thing to sample, and we will go to the bright area, and we'll put it up until we like what we see. And I think I like what I see here. Yeah, I think it's quite good here. Yeah, so you can see we have already a pop on the picture. As you can see how bright. And maybe now what we can do is that with Ctrl G, or we just drag it down to the plus, and it duplicates the layer. So now what we want to do, we select the mask layer, and we will invert it with Ctrl I. So like that, now we impact only the subject. So we click on the curve layer and we reset it. And now we want to see what's good for our subject. Is it a little bit more? Is it a little bit less? But it depends. Maybe we will keep it as it is, but let's see. I think here it's good. So the reason why we didn't do just one curve layer for everything is because we want to be precise with our adjustment. We don't want the adjustment that we are doing to the background to impact the subject, because they are on different brightness, and also the look that we want to have is different on the background. For example, we over brighten the background, but we want our subject to stay in a regular brightness. So that's why it's good to play a little bit with the masks, with the selection, because not just have a general curve to everything. So this is good here. So we can group all that. We will call it adjustment. And let's say before and after to see. So you can see we already have a 3D pop to the picture. What I can add is another way of adding a little bit more contrast. This is very important because it's a fitness picture, so we need a little bit of contrast. And one of the best way to introduce contrast on a picture is by the technique that I will show you, which is the black and white. So you click on the black and white and you have here the possibility to darken or brighten each particular color in the bracket. So this impacts the red. The red, of course, is a black and white, but you impact the reds on the original picture. So this, it make the red. So the red will make them dark, and also the yellows, the greens. We don't have a lot, so let's put them bright. Blues is yeah, we have the blues. I think it looks bright. It's better. No, this is the cyan. So the cyan is good when it's bright. Same thing for the blues. It's good when it's bright. And magenta, I'm not sure if we have it, but let's leave it in the middle. So now after you do that and you create the black and white that looks good and pleasing, you will change it to soft light. So we click on soft light and now you can see that you have quite a lot of contrast. So we bring the opacity down to 0. And then we go up until we like what we see. So let's go up, up, up until we see. So here, let me see, before and after. So you can see it introduced a lot of contrast texture to the picture, which is good for a fitness picture like we have here. So I think a 5 is good. Yeah, 5 is good. Maybe now we can add a little bit more brightness to the subject because the contrast introduced a little bit of darkness. And what can we do more now? So now we can do a little bit more adjustment. So you remember, we noticed earlier that the hand is much brighter than the legs. So we want to correct that. So what we will be doing is that we'll select the hand. So the best thing is to use this selection that was here because this selection is perfect. So let's create a curve layer and we do the selection. Let's do the cloud one, so it will be doing a great selection for us. Great, so now we will go to the quick selection tool and we will choose the minus, which will remove things. So let's remove everything beside the hand. Yeah, let's, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, let's remove all that. So let's keep only the hand. Oh, no, only the hand. Okay, so now we have the hand, so we can click on Ctrl I, and then after it, we will be selecting it in white. So now, whatever we'll be doing will be impacting only the hand. So we have a little bit of defects here, so we will be painting in black with a flow of 100, and we will be painting these small areas like that. It will not be present on the final picture. Okay, so now we have only the hand here. Let's see. Yes, so let's remove only this and this. Okay, so now all we have to do is to take the sample and we go to the hand and we will play a little bit until we see a brightness that will be a little bit uniform with this. So I think now it's a little bit more uniform. I think, yeah, a little bit better. The second thing is that brightness, generally a bright spots, for example, if you look at the sun, if you take a picture of the sun, you will notice that it looks white because the more brightness there is, the less saturation. So the brightest point is always, there is not too much saturation, and the same thing for the dark. So we lose the colors when an area is a little bit darker or brighter. So here we notice that we lose a little bit of saturation. So we can have here a hue and saturation layer, and we'll apply it only to the area beneath it. So what we want to do is that we will enhance a little bit the saturation, I think to a 3. And let's see now. The saturation is good, so we add a 2. I think now the saturation is better. And the brightness is a little bit better, but maybe it can be a little bit less. I think now it's quite good. The only small adjustment I will do is that I like the whites here to be also bright as the background. So let's select all the, oh, what's happening? It was like the mine. Okay. Yep, let's have here. Let's select this. Control I. And this also, we will have a Control I to it. Yep, like that. So now it looks much better, bright than it was darker. This we can brush it manually here. Yeah, I think it looks much better. So now the only small adjustment we will be doing is a certain color grading. So there is not a lot of color grading that's happening here because we have just a white background and whites. The only things that we can adjust the color of is probably the skin. So the first thing that we will be doing, I didn't explain, so yeah. So one of the best ways to do color grading is using the selective color. The selective color allows you to play with each particular color and introduce cyan, or for example, the opposite of cyan is red. Magenta, you can do for example, introduce a little bit of magenta, or the opposite of magenta is green. You can do it for the yellows, or the opposite of yellow is blue. You can add a little bit of black, or remove the black from each color, and you can do that for each color. You can do that for the whites. So for example here, if we want to put a little bit of yellow to the whites or some blue to the whites, you can do it for the midtones, which is neutral. So this is the midtone. And you can do it also for the black. So if you want to have some fade or something like that, you can do it with that. So the selective color is one of the best tools to manipulate colors and add some color grading to your pictures. So what we want to do here is just play a little bit with the skin tones. So here we are impacting only the red. So this is the reds. Okay. So I want to introduce a little bit more red. So let's put a minus, so we can add a little bit minus. A little bit of magenta. The yellow, and no, we don't need any yellow in our reds or blue. So I think that's quite good. Let's see the blacks. If we need any blacks, maybe we can add a little bit of black, maybe a hint of black to the reds. Yellows, maybe we'll add a little bit of red to the yellows, so we make our yellows a little bit more reddish. So we will go 1, 2, maybe the magenta to the yellow. Yes, I think I like it. So let's add 1 and 2. Yeah, 2 is great. So we don't want to add any yellow extra to the yellows and not the blue. Black, nah, we don't want that. Oops, let's redo. Green we don't have, cyan we don't have, blue we don't have, magenta we don't have, so maybe we can see the neutral, which is the midtones. So maybe we can see if we want to add a little bit of, yeah, maybe a little bit of red. Magenta, nope, it's too much. Yellow, no. And let's see the blacks, maybe, nope, nope, nope. So we will not touch that, and let's do it just like this. So you can see we added a little bit of colors to the skin to give it back some warmth. So let's go to the red. Maybe I will reduce a little bit the red that I added here. I think there's a little bit too much red. And I think it's quite good. So this is the before and this is the after. There is only small adjustment that we can do to the picture before we can post it or share it with anyone or share it with our client. Okay guys, so this is all for this video. I know it was a little bit long, but I hope you learned a thing or two from it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, please let me know what you didn't like, what I'm doing wrong. Is it explanation? Is it some of my techniques? If you have also something to recommend to me in terms of technique or videos, please feel free. If not, yeah, see you on the next one. Bye.